Women's tennis is accelerating. Not gradually, not subtly, but structurally. The rallies are shorter, the reaction windows are smaller. The first strike now decides points that once lasted twice as long. And if you watch the previous video, the one exploring how the next evolution of women's tennis may already have started, you saw the broader shift. But the deeper story isn't just evolution, it's speed. Because the modern women's game is moving faster than at any point in its history. Which raises a fundamental question. Is women's tennis entering an era where the entire sport is accelerating beyond its previous rhythm? But this conversation isn't about one tournament. It's about how the sport itself changes over time. Every era of tennis has a distinct tempo. The 1990s emphasized endurance and rally construction. The Serena era introduced unprecedented power and serve dominance. But the current moment feels different. Because the acceleration isn't coming from one player. It's happening across the entire tour. Serve patterns are evolving. Return positioning is becoming more aggressive. Baseline exchanges now explode into attacking patterns almost immediately. And when the tempo of a sport increases, everything else must adapt. Players, tactics, movement, even the physical standards required to compete. Now let's step back. Major changes in tennis rarely come from one innovation. They come from multiple pressure points evolving simultaneously. 4 structural forces are driving the acceleration of the modern women's game. Rally length compression. Points are ending earlier than they once did. Court speed adjustments. Subtle changes in surfaces influence how quickly the ball travels through the court. First strike aggression. Players are now trained to seize control within the first 2 shots. Serve and return evolution. The serve is no longer just a starting shot. The return is no longer purely defensive. Both are now weapons. Individually, these changes are small. Together, they reshape the rhythm of the sport. But here's where the story becomes complicated. Modern match statistics show a steady trend toward shorter rallies. In many WTA hardcourt events, the majority of points now end within the first 4 shots. Serve, return, first attacking strike. Sometimes a finishing blow immediately after. But the numbers only explain part of the shift. The real change is psychological. When rallies shorten, patience becomes risk. Players no longer build points slowly. They compete for initiative. Because whoever controls the first aggressive shot often controls the entire point. And when every rally becomes a race for control, the pace of the sport inevitably increases. Now focus in on a high-pressure rally, a semifinal, 3rd set. Both players understand the margins. The return lands deep. The server steps forward inside the baseline. A heavy cross-court forehand. Then the acceleration. The opponent takes the ball early, redirects down the line. The rally ends in 4 shots. 10 or 15 years ago, that exchange might have continued. 8 shots, 10 shots, a tactical reset. But today, the rhythm rarely allows that pause. The point moves too quickly, and you can see the emotion in the players. No one is waiting. Everyone is attacking, because hesitation now carries immediate punishment. Let's compare this to historical benchmarks. Tennis has accelerated before. Steffi Graf introduced explosive footwork and forehand dominance. Serena Williams pushed serve power to unprecedented levels. But those changes were driven by individuals. Today, the acceleration is systemic. Across the WTA Tour, baseline players are striking the ball earlier. Return positions are moving closer to the baseline. And the entire field is adopting aggressive first strike patterns. Which means dominance becomes harder to maintain. Because when everyone plays faster, the margin between elite players narrows. The sport itself becomes more volatile. But that's only part of the picture. Because speed introduces new pressures. Shorter rallies demand faster reactions. Faster reactions demand better movement. And higher physical intensity increases injury risk and recovery demands. In other words, The same forces accelerating the sport are also raising the physical standard required to survive it. The modern game is no longer just about power or consistency. It's about surviving inside a constantly accelerating environment, which is why dominance can feel more fragile today than it once did. Because sustaining control in a faster sport requires near-perfect timing.
So what happens next? History suggests acceleration rarely stops once it begins. Young players entering the tour today were trained in this faster environment. They grew up returning big serves earlier, attacking short balls instantly, taking time away from opponents, which means the next generation may push the tempo even further. More aggressive returns, more explosive baseline patterns, more points decided in the first few shots. The rhythm of tennis may continue compressing. And if that happens, the physical demands of the sport will rise with it. If the current rhythm holds, women's tennis will continue evolving gradually. The same champions adapting to a faster game, the same rivalries shaping the biggest tournaments. But if the acceleration continues, the sport itself will begin to transform. Because tennis isn't just about hitting harder, it's about reacting faster, recovering faster, moving faster, and adapting to a rhythm that leaves almost no time for hesitation. Which raises the next question in this story. Not just how fast the game is becoming, but what kind of athlete is required to survive it? Because if the sport is accelerating, the next generation of players must evolve with it. And that evolution may redefine what elite athleticism in women's tennis truly looks like.